Hello everyone and welcome back for another of our weekly sessions in English, made possible with the help of the American Friends of the Prado Museum. The American Friends is a nonprofit organization, and everything that we do is to help the Prado in any way we can, and we collaborate closely with the Fundación de Amigos as well. So if you speak English, maybe you're interested in finding out more about the American Friends, and if you speak Spanish, then you can please find out more about the Fundación de Amigos. Today, we're going to be talking about a magnificent painting from the Spanish Renaissance, the Saint Catherine of Alexandria by Fernando Yañez de Almedina. So who is Saint Catherine? Well, according to Christian tradition, Saint Catherine of Alexandria was a saint, and she was a martyr from the 4th century BC. The story of her martyrdom is found in a book called the Golden Legend, La Leyenda Dorada, the Golden Legend from the 13th century. And there we learn that she was a princess, and she was very intelligent. She was well educated. She liked to study a lot as a child. And in her studies, when she was young, she received a vision. She said that the Virgin Mary came to her with the Christ child, and because of this vision, she converted to Christianity. At the time, the Emperor Maxentius was a persecutor of Christians. And so Catherine was compelled to go see the emperor and talk to him, tried to get him to stop persecuting Christians and tried to convert him. And what happened is that then the emperor responded by calling all of his advisors and the best philosophers of the time to try and convince Catherine to leave aside her Christian beliefs. And she debated with each one of them and ended up winning each debate. So she was really intelligent. Eventually, she was sentenced to terrible tortures of the worst kind. She was imprisoned. Her breasts were amputated, so really gruesome tortures. But miraculously, she continued to heal and survive. So she was in prison, and she continued to heal, and she continued, and this drew the attention of the people. People would go to visit her in prison, and they ended up converting to Christianity as well, including the emperor's wife. And of course, the people who converted were also executed for their beliefs. Eventually, Maxentius sentenced her to death on a spiked wheel, and when she touched the wheel, it shattered. Maxentius offered her mercy if she agreed to marry him, which she refused. And she was ultimately beheaded, which is why we see the sword here. So now that we know the story of Saint Catherine, we can go back and look at some of the elements that are in this painting, which are the clues that Yañez has put to tell us the story of her life. In Gothic painting, the story of Saint Catherine was typically told in small images that were put together to tell the sequence of events of her life. And Yañez gives us this narrative in a much more modern way, which is by including just the attributes to tell us about the story of her martyrdom. At the top we have the book. The book refers to her intelligence, how smart she was, her studies, and also the palm, which is a symbol of martyrdom. Then we have the crown, which refers to her standing, her social standing. She was a princess. The sword, which is the instrument of her death, but also a symbol of her strength in the defense of her faith. And of course, at the bottom, the shattered wheel. She is wearing a rich, elaborate necklace too. We should take time to notice all of the things that she's wearing. The necklace is really beautiful. It's really sumptuous, really elaborate with these precious stones. And this also tells us again of her social standing, as do her clothes. These are really sumptuous, brightly colored clothing with rich silk. These are items of luxury. And not only do they talk about her social standing, but they also talk about, they tell us about the influence of the culture of Al-Andalus. Al-Andalus being the part of Spain, the part of the Iberian Peninsula that was ruled by Muslims until 1492 when King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel finally conquered Granada. And it might seem interesting to us today that these elements of material culture, of visual culture, from different religious traditions are mixed. But in the 16th century, and certainly in Spain, it was perfectly acceptable and frequent to incorporate these aspects for their decorative functions, and also because they were so delicate and a marker of high social standing, because they were really rich, luxurious objects. And if we look closely at her sleeves, we can also see bits of pseudo-Arabic writing. And also again on her chest. And the writing, I believe is almost illegible, but the one across her chest might be something like the blessing of God in Arabic. The sword is also something that would have come from an Al-Andalus culture. So all of these objects, all of this material culture were things that were traded from the south up towards ports in the north. Until 1914, this painting was attributed to Leonardo da Vinci, and I think that we can see why. There's a lot of influence of the style of Leonardo da Vinci. We know that Fernando Yañez did spend time in Italy and collaborated closely with da Vinci, and I think we can also think of other Italian artists like Raphael or Perugino in the delicacy and the balanced composition and the sfumato that we can see, especially in the face and in the hair. But since 1914, it's been correctly attributed to Yañez, and it's been in this museum since 1946. And since 1946, this really has been an icon of Spanish Renaissance painting. Yañez probably painted this after his trip to Italy, because he obviously had the influence of Italian painting that he had assimilated so well, also because of the architectural elements that he would have seen in Italy, because these are classical architectural elements from the Renaissance that he wouldn't have seen in Spain at this time. But then back in Valencia, he has maybe assimilated his style, this image, to the taste of local clientele, with this material culture that is so typical from the Iberian Peninsula. The lighting is even and clear. The composition is uncluttered and balanced. She is elegant and monumental. She's a unique representation of Renaissance painting and a beautiful example of Spanish Renaissance painting here in the Prado Museum. So we invite you all to come see St. Catherine, and I hope that you've enjoyed our video in English today, and we'll see you again next Wednesday for more. Thank you.